Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. What you gotta say, it don't matter, cause I'm a KILLANANPUBLISHING. I'm a KILLANANPUBLISHING. Pluto, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. What you gotta say, it don't matter, cause I'm a KILLANANPUBLISHING. 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 I'm a KILLANANPUBLISHING.
All right, we tuning back into NaNTV, baby. You know what it is. We got an excellent show for you today. Today we're gonna be talking about aliens. You know, cause we the AKliens. So we need to do a show about aliens and everything that's going on right now. We living in the age of disclosure. You got these UAP videos. You got eyewitness testimony. You got people seeing it on their phones, catching it with their eyeballs. So that's what we're going to get into today. And the conspiracy, how they lied to us for years about these aliens. And now all of a sudden, the world's gone crazy. Let's go ahead and show them about some aliens. Well, just know we was on that already. You know what it is. NaNTV, baby. Stay tuned.
I became a whistleblower through a PPD-19 urgent concern filing in May 2022 with the Intelligence Community Inspector General. Following concerning reports from multiple esteemed and credentialed current and former military and intelligence community individuals that the U.S. government is operating with secrecy above congressional oversight with regards to UAPs. My testimony is based on information I've been given by individuals with a long-standing track record of legitimacy and service to this country.
You've said that the U.S. has intact spacecraft. You said that the government has alien bodies or alien species. Have you seen the spacecraft?
I have to be careful to describe what I've seen firsthand and not in this environment, but I could answer that question behind closed doors. Yeah.
And have you seen any of the bodies?
That's something I've not witnessed myself.
Okay, and so with that being said, you know, the other statement that has been made that was intriguing to me it's intriguing because my view has been that we are billions of light years away from any other system. And the concept that an alien species that's technologically advanced enough to travel billions of light years gets here and somehow is incompetent enough to not survive Earth or crashes is something that I find a little bit far-fetched. And with that being said, you have mentioned that there's interdimensional potential. Could you expound on that?
Yeah, to answer your first question, and I'm here as a fact witness and expert, but I will give you a theoretical framework, at least to work off, to kind of espouse crashes, regardless of your level of sentience, right? Planes crash, cars crash, n number of sorties, however high, a small percentage are going to end in mission failure, if you will, as we say in the Air Force. And then in terms of multidimensionality, that kind of thing, the framework that I'm familiar with, for example, is something called the holographic principle. It derives itself from general relativity and quantum mechanics, and that is, if you want to imagine a 3D object such as yourself casting a shadow onto a 2D surface, that's the holographic principle. So you can be projected, quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross, literally, as far as I understand, but there's probably guys with PhDs that we could probably argue about that.
But you have not seen any documentation that that's what's occurring?
Only a theoretical framework discussion, yeah.
All right, we tune back in here for NaNTV. How's y'all morning going? We're going to sip this day off with some nice hot black coffee. Sipping it. We're going to sip the day off, you know what I'm saying? Take little nips. My dad, when he You get a shooter, he take little nips. That's what he called like a little sip. It's like less than a sip. A sip is a sip, but then you got a nip. That's a nip. All right. Let's get into what Wikipedia has pulled up about extraterrestrial life. Our subject today getting kind of hairy and thick, baby. All right. Extraterrestrial life or alien life is life that originates from another world rather than on Earth. No extraterrestrial life has yet been scientifically or conclusively detected. Such life might range from simple forms such as prokaryotes to intelligent beings. Prokaryotes. That's pretty interesting. Possibly bringing forth civilizations that might be far more or far less advanced than humans. The Drake equation speculates about the existence of sapient life elsewhere in the universe. The science of extraterrestrial life is known as astrobiology. Yeah, I be talking to my friend about aliens a lot. You know, that's kind of how we came up with the name for our entertainment company. We were just like AKliens, you know, because, you know, all of us probably have alien DNA in us. We probably aren't. Part of us is probably indigenous to this planet and part of us is probably not, but you never know. But most civilizations got to reach a type 1 civilization, which means everybody's came together for the betterment of that planet.
Imagine if we could control earthquakes and tsunamis to generate power. Or maybe even terraform every planet in the solar system. These are just a couple of the things that might happen if human civilization was to advance in the future. So, how can humans get to this point? What other advancements will happen? And what makes us think we'll even progress this far? This is What If, and here's what would happen if we became a Type 1 civilization. Global civilizations can be categorized into what's known as the Kardashev scale. This measures a civilization's ability to use all the energy available to it and is scaled from 1 to 3. Currently, humanity doesn't even reach Type 1 civilization. This is because humans don't use all the forms of energy on Earth. We use wood, coal, and oil, but there's a lot more. So, what would change if humanity evolved into one of these types of civilizations? Being a Type 1 civilization means we would have complete control over all the energy on Earth. This means that we'd say goodbye to fossil fuels since they're limited and unsustainable. Instead, we could use the wind, sunlight, and water for our energy needs. And since this energy is so accessible, you may no longer need to pay for your power bill. In a Type 1 civilization, we'd continuously be using energy. It would be as essential as oxygen. Tsunamis could be used to produce energy. And earthquakes could potentially be used to terraform parts of the world. With us having complete control over our planet's energy sources, we could also control the weather. If an area of the world were suffering through a drought, we could disperse rain clouds over it and bring it back to life. Humanity could also say goodbye to global warming, as we'd be able to bring the atmosphere back to carbon neutral and control our planet's temperatures. Casualties from natural disasters would also be reduced, as we'd be able to predict when and where they might happen. And not only that, but we'd be able to live on places on Earth we'd never have dreamed of before.
So Earth is not it's more like a type 0.7. We're not quite a type 1 yet, because we can't even get along with each other. So, you know, these civilizations out there have passed the hump of, oh, I don't like that alien because he's dark skinned. Or I don't like that alien because he's white skinned. Well, I don't like that alien because he's tan skinned. They've gotten past all that. They realize that they're all the same kind of alien, 5 or 3 fingers, 20 toes. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? They probably got all. They realize that they're the same. You know, humanity should probably get on that. Speculation about inhabited worlds beyond Earth dates back to antiquity. Early Christians, writers, including Augustine, discussed ideas from thinkers like Democritus and Epicurus about countless worlds in the vast universe. Pre-modern writers typically assumed extraterrestrial worlds were inhabited by living beings. William Vorlong in the 15th century acknowledged the possibility Jesus could have visited extraterrestrial worlds to redeem their inhabitants. In 1440, isn't that interesting? Aliens sent out an ambassador for all of us to know how to live properly. Because if you really listen to the teachings of, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, the Quran, it all tells you how to live a good, clean, happy life. So it's very interesting that there'd be a man who would come and tell us how to live properly. In 1440, Nicholas of Cursa suggested Earth is a brilliant star. He theorized that all celestial bodies, even the sun, could host life. Descartes wrote that there were no means to prove the stars were not inhabited by intelligent creatures, but their existence was a matter of speculation. In comparison to the life-abundant Earth, the vast majority of intrasolar and extrasolar planets and moons have harsh surface conditions and disparate atmospheric chemistry or lack an atmosphere. So his theory is that there could be creatures living in the sun. They might like 5,000 degrees. That might be the right temperature for them to incubate and do what they do. And some creatures could probably survive on planets without an atmosphere. They probably don't even breathe there. You never know how something can evolve. However, there are many extreme and chemically harsh ecosystems on Earth that do support forms of life and are often hypothesized to be the origin of life on Earth. So we've discovered life in the most harshest conditions on planet Earth, and they say it's dang near the beginning of life on any celestial body. So, examples include life surrounding hydrothermal vents, acidic hot springs, and volcanic lakes, as well as halophiles and the deep biosphere. Since the mid-20th century, researchers have searched for extraterrestrial life and intelligence. Solar system studies focus on Venus, Mars, Europa, and Titan, while exoplanet discoveries now total 6,022 confirmed planets in 4,490 systems as of October 2025. Depending on the category of search, methods range from analysis of telescope and specimen data. No radios used to detect and transmit interstellar communication. Interstellar travel remains largely hypothetical, with only the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 probes confirmed to have entered the interstellar medium. So the interstellar medium, which would mean a little past Jupiter. You got these planets that are kind of in this inner part, then you get to the medium part, then you get to the outer part. The concept of extraterrestrial life, especially intelligent life, has greatly influenced culture and fiction. A key debate centers on contacting extraterrestrial intelligence. Some advocate active attempts, while others warn it could be risky, given human history of exploiting other societies. So yeah, it could be a good thing contacting these aliens. It could be a bad thing. It's like, like Forrest Gump said, life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, when you ring somebody's doorbell, you never know who's going to answer the door. So, we got all this stuff. We had Congress. We had David Grush and, You know, Stephen Greer and all them talking about Congress, about these aliens and these secret programs that been going on. You know, so just in case anything happens to me, y'all, I am not suicidal. I'm not sick, and I ain't beefing with nobody that I, that I know of. So, but yeah, you got these secret bunkers, where they hide in these spaceships and these aliens, and only a certain people in the government can know about it. You know, they don't want to tell the president. They want him to have that plausible deniability. But this has been going on for a long time with these secret programs, You got to think of the ingenuity that advanced back from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. All of a sudden, we started advancing in all kind of stuff, It's probably direct technology from these alien-downed crafts that we've, somehow engineered, to figure out how we could use it, That's just the world we live in. The aliens are up there, and to be honest, if I was an alien, I wouldn't even want to introduce myself to no humans, because y'all are some savages. Y'all be killing each other and causing all kind of mayhem and crazy. To me, y'all is like a wild species if I was an alien. But yeah, we're going to get into some videos. There's been a lot of scientists coming up missing. Let me say it again. I am not suicidal or sick, so if anything happens to me, it was the government trying to shut me up. But yeah, you got these missing scientists. They just coming up missing, and every one of them got a direct hand in UAP or generals with knowledge. And all of a sudden, these people are coming up missing. And now all of a sudden, we got all this craziness going on in the world. War in Ukraine, war in Iran. Gas prices almost $6. The world's gone crazy. They've taken away Democratic seats in Tennessee. Now it's just craziness going on. So Epstein's Island, you know what I mean? All kind of crazy stuff. And then now all of a sudden they're going to dish out some aliens. It's all a distraction and a cover-up. Right now I feel like this is a staged release. Like, okay, we gave them the congressional hearing, bam. Okay, now let's give them some footage, bam. Now let's show them the alien body, bam. All right, let them go ahead and meet E.T. It's like, oh, come on, man. We've been programmed for years and years of watching these alien movies with Sigourney Weaver, with Steven Spielberg. All these little hints trying to flood in our brain that aliens, A, can be good, or B, they're bad. So you got to make your own determination on how you feel about aliens, man. Because, I really think if they was really here to do some malevolent or some crazy stuff, we would have been wiped out already. That'd be like me going and stomping the anthill down and killing all the ants in there. I could do it like real easily. All I need is a couple bottles of Raid and some smoke bombs, and they'll all come running out. So everybody just don't be, listening to the government if they try to tell you these aliens are bad, because it could be a false invasion. It could be the government in re-engineered alien crafts pretending to be aliens trying to scare everybody. You got to watch out for that too. Come on, man. Wake up, everybody. But yeah, we're going to get into these videos about these 10 missing scientists. We're going to take a small break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. NaNTV, baby. AKliens.
Activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured. And the activity, and I got to
by UAPs or by people within the federal government?
both.
Okay, so there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
This morning, members of Congress are set to take on a deepening mystery after at least 10 American scientists, all with ties to U.S. nuclear or space research programs, have died or disappeared.
It does appear that there's a high possibility that something sinister is taking place here.
On Monday, the House Oversight Committee saying it will investigate the string of incidents, writing, if the reports are accurate, these deaths and disappearances may represent a grave threat to U.S. national security. It comes just days after the FBI launched its own probe. The agency telling NBC News it is working with the Department of Energy, Department of Defense, and state and local law enforcement to find answers. President Trump even said he was briefed on the matter last week.
I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half.
The mysterious deaths and disappearances began in 2023 when Michael David Hicks, a scientist who worked with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, died at the age of 59, with no cause of death publicly released. Between 2024 and 2025, 7 other scientists were reportedly killed or went missing, including 6-year-old NASA engineer Monica Reza, who vanished while on a hike near Los Angeles. And earlier this year,
my husband is missing.
William Neal McCasklen, a 68-year-old retired Air Force general, disappeared after authorities say he left his Albuquerque home on foot. The wave of deaths and disappearances sparking a slew of suspicion and conspiracy theories online.
This is not just a coincidence, it's absolutely a pattern.
Now, the cases are getting even more attention as federal investigators and lawmakers look for a potential link.
What are we getting wrong about this? Why should we keep looking at it?
Well, look, anytime you have experts in the national security arena either disappearing or in some cases dying prematurely and not necessarily a natural way, we have to look at this very closely. We can go back even to the 1940s during the Manhattan Project when we knew Russia was trying to target a lot of our scientists and try to learn some of our atomic secrets. This is nothing new. What is new, though, is that we have these scientists, these engineers, and senior military officials that are completely unaccounted for. Some of these individuals had very high security clearances, top secret SCI security clearances. Anytime that would happen in any other country, Russia, China, obviously would be a problem. This is happening here in the United States.
All right, we tune back into NaNTV. You know what it is. Yeah, we talking about these aliens today, you know. Me and my partner was talking the other day, man. We was the first ones on that alien stuff, you know. We've been pushing that line for a long time, you know what I'm saying? So, in case y'all want to try to jump on some bandwagons and all that, don't even try it, because we was already first on it. We was the hippest aliens dudes you seen around. Even when dudes was saying, man, that's kind of corny, man. Well, you know, it is what it is right now, you know. So everybody know what the truth and the fact of the matter is. There's going to be a lot of shakeup and a lot of disgruntled people when they find out their favorite religion isn't what it seems to be, you know. A lot of people are going to be disappointed when they find out that our planet probably isn't as important in the universe as they thought it was, you know. You know, a lot of people are going to pay for their crimes against humanity. You know, a lot of stuff going to go on, my personal opinion, you know. A lot of people be talking about remote viewing. You know, I'm going to bring a video up on that. You can summon these alien ships down to you, but you got to be very careful when you do that. You might summon the wrong kind, you know.
He bumps into somebody in the lobby of a hotel in Las Vegas. He feels a pinch on his arm, goes up to his room, calls his wife, and he's dead by morning. But Pat Price remote viewed into Mount Hayes, saw a joint alien U.S. military operation inside the mountain, and he put the files together. And I think from there, he gave the files to Hal, who then gave them to Skip. I could have the timeline wrong, but it's something like that. Like, Pat didn't pursue it. He gave it over to the people he trusted. And I don't know if they had anyone who can go and follow up with what Pat saw, because he was really talented. But SRI taught a lot of people to do it. You know, they had a secretary there that they were like, let's just teach her to do it and see if she can do it. And she like found a Soviet plane that went down in the Congo.
And I suspect that's very similar to what we identify as either the gods plural, the aliens plural that have these abilities we don't have,
angels, and
as well
demons.
as God singular, which is probably the highest up above all of those things. I suspect there's a version of all these things that are starting to converge on one truth, because when you learn about remote viewing, that's what really cracked it for me, was learning how much money the CIA has invested in remote viewing over the years. The CIA is not spending millions and millions of dollars on some crackpot bullshit that's not going to work. They would for a little while, but they've been doing it and doing it and doing it. And now we've got disclosure from people that are coming out whistleblowing that they are doing it today. And I'm in the program, and this is how we did it.
Have you listened to the telepathy tapes?
I've listened to a little bit of them. I've not listened all the way
I had
through.
Kai Dickens on the podcast the other day, and she explained the whole thing, like provable. Hours and hours and hours of nonverbal autistic kids who have telepathy, provable telepathy, undeniable,
It's crazy,
100%
dude.
accuracy, wild.
Yeah. And
Wild
I suspect
stuff.
that all of that is, and there's a weaponization of it. There's I mean, it's not just public study of it. There's definitely been private study of it by the intelligence agencies and probably the weapons developers for a long time. I mean, I was very surprised to hear Elon's answer to your alien question the other day, which I understand that you probably couldn't talk about it anyway.
There's not just one kind of alien. You got all kind of aliens, you know what I'm saying? You just got to make sure you're dealing with the coolest ones, you know? That's what it's about, you know? But yeah, man, me and my dad got a crazy story. Me and my dad was chilling on the back porch. We used to have this spot. We used to have this place, and right behind our house was a mountain, like a giant mountain. And we on the back porch smoking a cigarette. And next thing you know, we look in the sky and we see this thing moving like nothing that can move on this planet. Like it was going sideways, down, up, left, right, vertical. Just flying all through the sky, man. Right here in Anchorage, man. Right over there by the mountains, man. So, you get a nice, clear, dark night and you ain't got nothing to do. Just go look at the sky, man. Go look at the mountains, man. Tell me what you see, man. Tell me if you see something that you can't explain. You might as well call Mullah from the X-Files, because you can't explain it. You need to have somebody investigate what you've seen. There's a lot of people out there with videos now, because everybody got a phone. So that's why they're catching more videos of these things, Even you got Air Force pilots who say they've encountered these things, and the way they move is... The G-force alone would splatter you on the window, but they're encased in a special force field around the ship that makes it be able to maneuver however it wants, and the occupants in the ship have no feeling or effect of what's going on outside the ship. Pretty interesting, huh? Their technology is beyond ours. You connect to the ship with your brain. You move it with your brain. With this remote viewing, some people on this planet got, certain psychic abilities. They can predict things coming. They can see things coming. They have a persuasive way about them because, they're special. They're able to summon down these alien ships. They can even take control of these spaceships with their mind. And you could fly it for a while. Just, be careful when you're taking over somebody else's vehicle. They might not like that. But yeah, so we're going to keep bringing you the stories that matter. And right now, we're going to keep bringing you Aliens Part 1, Disclosure Day. We living in a great time in history, if you ask me. Think of all the great times in history that you could have lived through. Let's think. Jesus, that probably been amazing to see Jesus. What else? The Egyptian pharaohs, that probably be amazing to see them. Genghis Khan, it'd be crazy to see him take over the whole other side of the earth, pretty much. He took over all of that. And then, but right now, would you want to live right now where they're about to tell you about some aliens that they done covered up for 80 years? And it seems like people that know about all these programs that was going on, maybe they were voices of reason, who knows? But they getting whacked. They taking them out one by one.
The perplexing case of Dr. Ning Li, whose groundbreaking research on anti-gravity beguiled and confounded her peers, is one such story. Dr. Ning Li emigrated from China to the United States in 1983, joining the Center for Space Plasma and Aeronomic Research at the University of Alabama. In the early 90s, her pioneering papers on anti-gravity were met with skepticism, dismissed by many as fanciful science fiction. Still, Li's theoretical work proposed a specific practical method for generating an anti-gravity field, a concept that promised transformative applications. In 1999, Li left academia to found her own company, AKliens. To further her research, she secured a significant grant from the Department of Defense, nearly $500,000. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of a series of strange and troubling events in her life. Despite the promising start, AKliens never published any of its research. By 2003, Li had vanished from the public eye.
You know, 10 scientists come up missing, and generals and just people who got knowledge of these programs all of a sudden come up missing. But this has been going on for years, you know. Even people that have invented quantum energy for the whole world to benefit from, to where your gas bill go away, your light bill go away, all your bills go away once you got quantum energy. And you could set up a quantum thing right here in your house. It'll power the whole city. Yeah, so these inventors, they would go, once they invented these things and try to patent them, you know what I'm saying? Then, the Men in Black, not no Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones Men in Black. These Men in Black show up with silencers, chloroform on the napkin, knock you out, you know what I'm saying? Inject you with some kind of deadly disease through who knows? You got to remember, these guys got weapons that they've been using and fighting with other countries. Dudes could walk by you and just touch you with some kind of stuff on your shoulder, and all of a sudden 30 minutes later you die. That's how what's his name, Kim Jong, took out his brother, remember? Killed him. With some deadly poison or something, I believe that's how they took Eazy-E out. I don't care. I'm going to say what I feel. I don't think he died from no AIDS. He was a target. Like Martin Luther King was a target. Like Malcolm X was a target. Tupac was a target. All these guys with powerful voices and powerful ideas, they targets. Straight up off top, I don't care what anybody say. That's just what I believe. I believe the government has something to do with it. I was watching this MLK files the other day that you're gonna release here soon, and man, the feds was on his ass. They was trying to say like the black movement was like against America, and all we wanted was equality. We were like primary targets, man. And we still are today. We always gonna be a target. If you got brown skin in this country. They scared of they scared of the unknown. They scared of if we have power, are we gonna kick their ass? Ain't nobody gonna kick your ass, bro. We ain't did it this far. We turn the cheek on everything you do to us. Beat us, whoop us, kill us, chase us, lock us up. And we still come open arms to you. So come on, man. Get out of here with that mess. Hopefully these aliens show up and clear up all the mess. But yeah, that's going to conclude our show today. I'm going to show you some more videos. Before I go, I got some more videos for you to check out. So stay tuned. We're going to watch these videos of David Grush and Steve Greer talking about these aliens, and what they have seen by being close to the programs that, were not being disclosed to the public. So y'all check that out, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned, baby. NaNTV. AKliens. That's some good black coffee, boy.
Ingo Swann, you know who Ingo Swann is? Very famous remote viewer, did a lot of stuff for the intelligence community, lived to regret it. But I was at his home up in New York some years ago, and just a wonderful man, brilliant. And he did a lot of work with SRI, Stanford Research International, and DARPA, and Army Intelligence and CIA. And they were experimenting and training people during the Cold War to be able to use consciousness to spy on the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union was doing the same thing. And everyone in the intelligence community at a certain clearance level knows about this, by the way. This is nothing, all that secret. It's hidden in plain sight. But what was interesting to me was that, he regretted that he ended up being used that way eventually. But what he and I would talk about together is the fact that every single human being has the ability to do this. They just don't do anything to help develop it. So it's like, you don't start out in kindergarten doing quantitative analysis and calculus. There's a process, right? It's the same thing with these capabilities. I bench press 410 pounds, but you don't start out that way. You rip your, pectoralis muscles in half. So so everything is an iterative learning, developing process of skill and knowledge and experience that builds on itself over time. Most people just never take the time to sit down 2-3 times a day, go into a quiet meditative state, and then practice the ability to intend to know. And I call it the intend to know because it's not brute will, it's quietly going into consciousness and then saying, I want to know this, or I want to see this place. And let it open very subtly. It's a very subtle, integrative process as opposed to a brutal intellectual one.
I don't think all of the alleged cluster of missing and dead scientists are linked. I'm very sceptical of the Daily Mail claims. But I do think there are individual cases that do raise, I think, legitimate suspicions that should be being investigated. And Amy's case is one of them. Frank Milburn is a very good friend of mine. He's a former British paratrooper and former very respected British military intelligence officer who is very well informed. Frank, way back when Amy died on the 11th of June in 2022, shared with me the communications that he was having with Amy Eskridge. And in fact, I'd been in touch with Amy Eskridge well before her death, her tragic death, and she was making claims that she'd had a major breakthrough in anti-gravity. Not surprisingly, she was very secretive about that.
All right, we're back. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed my show today, NaNTV. Disclosure Day. We're talking about these aliens, man, and how the AKliens, right here, the AKliens, we've been on this from day one, homie. From day one, before there was even a disclosure at Congress, we was calling ourselves AKliens. Get ready. We're going to have that merch coming soon. Hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats, coffee cups, whatever you can muster up. You know what I'm saying? AKliens is coming full force now. This is our season, and we ain't gotta have no reasons, but it's our season now. It's a takeover. Either you down or you not. Get down or lay down. You know what I'm saying? You know what it is. NaNTV. Stay tuned for part 2. Alien Disclosure Day coming soon. We got the stories that matter. You know we do. We out of here.
Occam's razor is that these aircraft, have they been identified that they are being produced by domestic, military and contractors? Is there any evidence that that's what's being recovered?
Not to my knowledge, plus the recoveries predate a lot of our advanced programs that I previously am witting of, so.
Would it be safe to say that there could be a scenario today where you have an aircraft that crashes because it's been involved in one program from one federal agency, but the agency that retrieves it is not aware of that program, and to them it appears alien in origin?
I mean, that's a hypothetical situation. I'm not aware of any historical situation that would match that you described. So
you're not aware, it has not happened that you're aware of?
That I'm aware of.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.